Good evening, Merrimack. Welcome to the Merrimack Village District Board of Commissioners meeting. Today is May 20, 2024. Public participation is offered by webinar. If you go to mvdwater.org and download, take a look at this meeting agenda or any meeting agenda. It's got a web link on there where you can access this meeting live and a phone number and an ID that you can call. So I will call the meeting to order at 5:01 and ask everybody to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of
the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so we have all 5 commissioners present, 4 in the room, and we have 1 joining us, Wolf Von Sean. Wolf, can you just tell us where you are calling in from?
Sure, I'm at my home at 4 Conservation Drive in Merrimack due to a medical procedure today.
Thank you. All right, so first on the agenda is the analysis of revenue and expenditures, and we've got Kristen Marr.
Thank you. Financial reports as of the end of April 30th, we are 83% through the year, which 2 more months of this fiscal year. And in basically 4 months, we will be starting the budget for the upcoming year. But as of April, our revenue, net ordinary income is down to $805,000. The main reason for that is per the last meeting, I had moved up a lot of the items that were below the line, particularly the Penachuk contract, some of our GIC replacements, and the filtrations in the Penachuk contract, sorry. And then, so if you remember last year, last month, we were about 1.4 million. By moving those items up to the budget, because we are doing well, again, mostly because our chemical budget, which was high, but we've got a budget for the worst. We are not using due to the weather and lower volume of water being used. So our chemicals usage is down, which allowed us to move those items up. With the revenue itself, account 40,405 interest is still high, again, due to the fact that inflation rates are high, which makes interest incomes high. In terms of expense, the purchase of water, 60300, that got moved up for the full amount and will continue for the next 2 months of the contract to be put in the budget line item. Chemicals, the water usage is down 60600. So that is showing as a much lower than budget. 60650 is the GAC replacement. So we had originally planned a second for 2 and 9 and 7 and 8 to be coming out of capital. We don't need to do that. That has been moved up to the budget. 70450, which is R&M meters or repair maintenance meters. We were able to replace quite a few more meters than were planned for the year. So we are getting back on the track of getting the town slowly replaced entirely. And then 70677.4, which is cleaning and reconditioning of well pump at 7 and 8. That was also, wasn't necessarily part of the budget, but needed to be done, which was a little more than had been planned. I think there were some things that also needed to be replaced.
So we do that yearly. The cleaning of 7 and 8 does get done yearly. You said there's something else that needs to be replaced?
706.
I think part of it came in about $40,000. I think it was, we had budgeted, I think 25.
Yeah, 70677.4. That's the well pump issue, probably at well 4 or 5, maybe. Yeah, clean and recondition well
Or
pumps.
7 and 8.
Oh, 7 and 8, okay.
100% on that. I'll have to get back. I'll have to look into that.
There was something going on at well 4, right? Didn't we lose a pump there?
Yeah, 4 and 5. Yeah, we lost a card at 4, and we lost a card at 5, and we lost the well
Pump itself, right?
pump itself. Yeah.
With all of these changes, the 1.4 million that was our net income is now gonna be a more realistic 850 probably by the end of the year. So we're still doing well, and again, we moved a lot of items that were either gonna below the line or being paid through capital truly into our budget.
All right,
Any questions on budgets and actuals? Other than what I went over? Right,
I'm good.
moving on. The fund balance. For our fund balance right now, we have a total fund balance of unassigned at $20.8 million. Again, that increased significantly because I have moved in a lot of items into our actual assets from construction in progress. Because now 7 and 8 are truly done, 2 and 9 are truly done. So that comes out of basically the 2 and 9 columns and moved over into the operating as true assets. To go over what we had always, the confusion with unassigned balance. I just put the calculation of true actual convertible cash is really 1.7 million. Which is about 8% of the grand total.
Just remember, that's a cleaning of the clear well at wells.
Additional, I knew there was
The
something
treatment plant.
additional.
That was budgeted. We repaired the hatch. Once we opened it up, the hatch needed to be replaced. And then when we dug into the motor, it actually needed some additional work on the finish pumps at 7 and 8 on one of them. So that's, yes.
I knew there was something
Yeah,
extra.
it took me a minute now.
Any questions on fund balance?
you good?
I did for this round throw in the age receivables, just to kind of give you an idea. I know last month you guys were a little looking at the total receivable at about 700,000. The true receivable that's in our utility billing is about 343,000. But then we also accrued because
Did you mute intentionally?
Right.
there we go.
How does that?
Thank you.
Is that better?
It seems to be. Don, can you talk for a minute?
I can talk for a whole evening if you want.
It's fair. I
Right.
suppose that better. That's much better. Thank you.
So did you guys
Just
also have
about.
issues, Amanda and MTV? You have
Yeah.
issues? Okay. I wasn't sure if it's just me. Yeah, it seems to be
I
better.
switched computers because I wasn't sure either.
Yeah, okay. That seems to be better now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good. All right, back at it, Kristen.
Sorry. So age receivables, I threw that in just as part of the financials to see what's truly been billed out and where we stand with outstanding balances. The difference between the total outstanding AR and what this report is our accrued billing because we billed a month behind. So there's an additional month that adds up to the total of the the AR, which is roughly 700,000. I kind of broke that out so you get a better idea from last month. You guys have kind of pointed that out. Trust activity for the capital reserve balances. I did make the deposits courtesy of the vote in March.
Page on,
I'm sorry?
page number, please.
Oh,
I switched the page and I'm on
9 of
something else.
9 of 20, these page numbers. Are at the top.
they're in the upper,
That is 9. It is 9 that you're on?
nope, trust activities.
Yes. So I'm just asking what page
Okay,
we flipped
I'm
to.
sorry, I actually didn't put page numbers on mine.
Oh, well, let me flip for a minute before you start talking.
22, yes.
It is 9.
Yep, right, yeah, I guess.
All right, I just wasn't following along, I guess. Try it again. Go ahead.
Sorry.
Hard to read.
Trust activity, the checks that were voted on for at the annual meeting for the 800,000 to equipment, the 99,000 to system development, and the 200,000 to water purchase have been cut and deposited. So they are now in the trust funds. In terms of activity, we have an item to vote on this evening, considering the land acquisition. The equipment and facilities, the remaining items, 2 more trucks. We actually just made that purchase today. And although we had 100,000, we came in at 89,000. So that will come down significantly. Again, the 2 DOT projects are still pending. And then the PFAS polishing treatment is on hold. So I'm just kind of leaving there as a placeholder. For system development, the artificial recharge and Mitchell Woods development, those are still in progress. So I will leave those as placeholders. And then over to the last column, water purchase, the Penachuk contract, the additional GIC for 2 and 9 and for 7 and 8 have been crossed off because they've now been moved up to the budget. So roughly the year-end total for land will be about 1.5 million, 3.3 for equipment, 1.1 for system development, legal at 109,000, and water purchase at 567,000. With our unassigned funds currently at total at 21.8 million, our trust is running at about 5%. Any questions on that?
Questions, anyone?
No.
Okay,
I think the rest are just the normal monthly reports, if anyone has any questions on any of those.
the only comment I have is that, I know we've been talking about this for a few years, but at least the digital version is kind of hard to read of this printout. This comes from a computer and then it gets printed to paper and then it gets scanned and then some of this is not even legible. So I'm wondering, is there a way we can print the file from the computer and insert the file itself? I mean, there is a way. Can we actually do it though? To use the computer digital version of the PDF file? Combined PDF files. I know we've been talking about, or I've been talking about this for like 3 years. And there's some numbers and some text I can't read.
Is there a particular page, like the trust one is?
That one, there's,
Well, there's quite a bit of pages that are skewed too, and that comes from printing and scanning, right? Because the page may have been scanned. So with any of the better PDF tools, you can combine pages from various PDF files pretty easily. It's really drag and drop.
yeah, I
So we
realize
could-
this, Oh, go ahead, Wolf.
Yeah, we could print from, from any of the applications into PDF with a PDF printer driver, and then recombine those files from various sources
Which-
into one big PDF by never
It
really printing it.
was provided as the whole thing was provided as a PDF, so I have a feeling it got printed and then rescanned.
Yeah, that's the way it's always done, and that adds
Right.
more, it takes
I
away.
did not see the result you
Yeah.
guys got.
We got the page numbers on there, which is, I think was requested at the last
It
meeting,
was.
so that's helpful. But it's just especially the tables that have, the landscape view, the numbers are small and they're pretty fuzzy.
I can make that in the PDF version significantly bigger to be more like this.
Yeah, but the trick is not to scan and print it.
No, it would be print to PDF.
Right, print a PDF and merge the documents inside of PDF editor software.
Right, okay. All right, so we're all set with the financial reviews. Anything else?
Anyone has any other questions?
Questions, anyone?
I struggle with the fund balance report. At some point, if you could give us a second grade instruction on how to look at that thing would be helpful, I think. Not really sure what it's telling us, to be honest with you.
That.
It's
were
just
you here
where,
For our fund balance conversation? I don't know.
I don't know,
It's an overall look at where we stand as a company in terms of,
just, these are capital reserve funds?
it's our assets, it's our liabilities, and it's our equity.
Okay, so if it says trucks, then that's just the value of the trucks on that given day.
It wouldn't say trucks on the fund balance, it would be, so in terms of our, like our fixed assets, the 53 million, if you look at, I think it was page 9.
Yeah.
So that's all of our assets are our trucks, yes, our water treatment plants and so forth.
Just broken out from the balance sheet.
Correct. This is a different view of the balance sheet.
And it doesn't show any activity over time. It's just a snapshot.
It is a snapshot as of the end of April.
Okay.
Yeah, so one item in there says truck reimbursement.
Why is there all these interest and fees
Because
over
You're
everything?
looking at you're talking about fund balances,
Yeah,
but you're
you're-
looking at the trust fund page.
Exactly. So
Those are different.
completely.
That's the
different.
trust fund
That's
page.
Trust fund.
So that's what we have in our trust funds and what's scheduled to come out of them. That's not the fund balance page.
Red capital reserve balance,
So where's the fund balance, page 10?
It's 7.
7. Which were you just talking about?
I was talking about the fund balance and I think you were talking about the trust.
Okay, so
activity.
I was on page 9, which is not the fund balances. and that's
9 is the
page.
capital reserve balance.
So I think putting the page numbers on is a good first step, but if we could just call out the pages once we get to them on the agenda and the right pages, I'd be right on line with you.
That I could do.
Awesome, thank you.
All right,
At least now I know I was confused.
I could just see it. I was like, that is not the right page. She's talking about one page. She's got a whole another page.
Any other questions?
no, I don't. I have the wrong agenda. Maybe I had it. Okay, so. All right, so we can move to the regular session. I guess actually this is when we go into non-public, right? We're pretty much right on time. Okay, so I need a motion to go into non-public session, and this is gonna be for discussion of Personnel, RSA 91-A:3, Roman numeral 2E in parentheses, pending claims or litigation. And the third thing is non-public minutes discussion. Somebody wants
So
to
moved.
make that motion by Aaron? Seconded. Second by Ken. All those in favor of going to non-public signify by saying aye.
I,
Wolf, how do you vote?
In favor.
All right, so that's 5-0-0 in favor. And we'll be returning back to the public session probably by 6 o'clock or so.
And did we state the reasons? I'm sorry, I missed that.
yes,
Yes,
Okay,
Yes.
okay, sorry, I missed that.
All right. Okay, thanks, Merrimack. We are back in the regular public session of the meeting. I'll recall the meeting to order at 6:04. And today is May 20, 2024. So the first thing we want to do is to have a motion to seal the minutes of the previous non-public session. Do I hear a motion for that?
so moved.
Seconded. Moved by Aaron. I think Wolf beat you to it. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I,
Aye, and Wolf, how do you vote?
In favor.
All right, and just for the minutes again, you are calling in from where again?
For Conservation Drive at my home due to a medical procedure today.
All right, great. All right, so the first part of the agenda on the regular session here is a motion to unseal the November 18, 2019 non-public minutes. I hear a motion for that.
So moved.
Seconded. All right, motion by Wolf, second by Ken. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
I,
Aye. Wolf, how do you vote?
In favor.
Right. And for the minutes, we'll let the minutes show that Superintendent Ron Minor left the meeting at 6:05 in order to go and meet with the school district for another matter related to MVD. All right. So now we're just moving on to the next section, which is item number 2 on the agenda. And this is the Board of Commissioners to review the draft employee handbook. This is the second reading. Kristen, do you want to add anything on that?
What I provided for the employee handbook were just the items that got changed. For the second review, what I did for employee conduct and work rules. This is policy 301 on page 26. Ron did give me some additional items from RSA 159:26 concerning firearms. Just to kind of give you a background, is one of the items on that particular policy was how to word the item discussing firearms. So if you look on page 26, I put a choice of either possession of dangerous materials such as explosive or firearms in the workplace without prior authorization of the superintendent with a C superintendent for details, or we just take out firearms entirely and put possession of dangerous or unauthorized materials in the workplace. So this is the only one that is kind of a, which would you prefer?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I see alcohol and drug in workplace.
Employee conduct and work rules,
Where is the page numbers on?
right at the bottom left.
There's a whole bunch of information before. Keep going to the back of the
That's what I'm
additional
looking for.
information.
yeah, keep going. Yes,
Oh,
Oh,
go
it's
past
after that?
Yeah.
Yeah, right there, up.
All right, I see it.
what page are we looking for?
26.
26 at the bottom.
I'm on 26.
Why can I? Right.
Bullet.
Employee conduct.
It's about halfway down. So it's either possession of dangerous materials such as explosives or firearms in the workplace without prior authorization of the superintendent, which adding that was along with C superintendent for details, or just taking the firearms out completely and saying possession of dangerous or unauthorized materials in the workplace.
It's an employee handbook. I think you need to tell the employee what you're talking about.
I think it's a bad idea to take firearms, a handgun, a firearms off, because personally, you're opening yourself, well, like, oh, that's a gray, like, oh, we didn't say firearms, you said dangerous. This is not dangerous. I just think you're better off keeping the word firearms. If you're not allowed to possess firearms, I think you should keep that wording in there. I don't think you should take
The
it out.
way it's written, though, you could possess a firearm as long as it was approved by the superintendent.
Correct.
Right, so then,
Oh, so some of them are allowed to carry? Oh,
I guess the other way, it would be possession of dangerous or unauthorized materials in the workplace.
We're kind of leaving it vague.
We're leaving it vague, and the superintendent would really be the one that decides what's dangerous or unauthorized.
Correct. So this, the rest of them, there weren't any changes, but this is the one I know that you guys kind of got stuck on. So I'm offering some suggestions or something completely different.
well, I guess I'm wondering, someone's got a gun on them on the job. And they need to do manual labor, and I was reading this very wishy-washy commentary.
Yes, it is.
It's 5 pages long, it doesn't really say anything.
Well, in the big, half of it says you can't prohibit, and then the other half says, oh, yeah, you can.
I know, so it's as
Well,
clear as mud.
I mean, the law is pretty clear from what I understand from the little bit of training I went through. You can't prohibit anybody from carrying in the state of New Hampshire because we have constitutional carry, but you can disallow people that do carry on your property.
okay.
What's that?
Since because it's a public company that you're allowed to do, because
No.
my work doesn't allow us to bring firearms in, and we're in New Hampshire.
Right, because your employer is the owner of that property disallows it, right? So they cannot prevent you from, but they can tell you to leave or not enter their property. And I think MVD can do the same, even though it's a public company, because in the end, it's still, a business that or an entity that owns the premises. I think where you can't regulate it, for example, is employees out in the field that are going from hydrant to hydrant on public place. Technically, I don't think there's really any way for us to prevent that from happening. Because again, it's a constitutional carry state. So in all reality, I think this is probably a question for our lawyers to tell us what is feasible, realistic policy that we can put in here.
How long has been the policy with person having a firearm? I'm just curious. I mean, has it always been that way?
The way that it was worded prior was possession of dangerous or unauthorized materials such as explosive or firearms in the workplace. What the sticking point was unauthorized. Who authorized what? So we're kind of
You
taking.
have to say who's the author.
So I'm taking kind of that and putting who you actually have to go to get the authorization. Or taking out the word firearms entirely.
Well, taking it out doesn't answer the question.
Correct.
I mean, is there anybody as this time, any employees authorized to carry firearms? And can I ask why are they authorized to carry firearms? In the work kind of setting?
I cannot answer that. That would be.
So my concern would be liability. You get, somebody standing in a trench with a firearm in their pocket, probably shouldn't have a firearm in their pocket. They're doing manual labor or something like that. It would get in the way. So they're gonna take it or they're gonna put it in the seat of their truck. If someone grabs it and uses it for some kind of malfeasance on somebody, isn't this a major exposure from MVD or is it not? I don't know the laws. Are we absolved from all kind of,
I know, we would, because they're on the clock and they, at that point in time, they're representing MVD. So in a sense, if God forbid a situation, even though they were, say, defending themselves, then, and if something happens and a person gets shot, they can turn around and sue the MVD because they're our employee and they're representing us, but
And we authorized them.
we're authorizing them to have a
yeah,
firearm,
it's where I'm concerned about,
you know.
I don't know, I don't
Well,
know.
we don't explicitly authorize anybody, I think, right? So, I mean, the
Well,
issue,
they
I
just
brought up
told us
the
that they
issue last.
did.
It's like, yeah,
That's what.
I know,
just
I
said
know,
they did.
I know, but that was not the purpose of my input last time. My purpose was that the last proposal said firearms and dangerous items are prohibited. I know that there are potentially some employees that at least at times carry, maybe not, but we have to assume, right? And that either we have to be compliant with the policy then, right? Or we can't have that policy. It can't be anything in between,
Right.
right? So the idea came up that we potentially can think about the superintendent authorizing employees. I don't think that that's causing liability in that moment necessarily, because it is.
if there's an incident out on the, let's say if they're out there, you know, doing a service call and it is an incident, then yeah, it is a liability and honest.
It's a constitutional carry state, so.
It doesn't matter if this, they're working for the MVD. You know, it's, you know, not everybody can just go around when they're on the clock, carry a firearm. I mean, I personally, I have nothing against firearms or anything. I don't want to give that impression, but also, you know, do you want, I'm just kind of mind blown that we allow people to go around carrying. Why are our employees being armed for doing their job? I mean, if there is a situation, then that's when the police department should be included. If there's a detail or something like that.
Well, I mean, for defense purposes, is always a good reason to have a firearm on you. That's a train of thought. A lot of people have that at all times, and some people want to have a firearm on them all the time, wherever they are. And that's allowable in New Hampshire law,
Back
correct?
to what Wolf was saying is making a policy that we know we can stand. Basically, the original is not what was going on. So it's either changing the policy so that we can follow it, which is what we are, or we keep the original when we then have to follow that. We can't have an in-between.
Right.
I think
I
we
will-
have. Go ahead, Wolf.
Sorry, I will say that I do agree that maybe the input from last meeting that authorization by the superintendent is probably not a good idea because that could open us up for liability. This is probably more or less a don't ask, don't tell situation, or prohibiting it in the facilities. Again, we would have to ask a lawyer, but I doubt highly that we can prohibit employees to carry out in the public. When they're going down the road from hydrant to hydrant, I don't think that we can prohibit them because it's constitutional carry and it's not our, it's not our property that they're on. We could have a policy where we basically inhibit people from carrying on our property. That is perfectly fine for employees and non-employees.
But if we have people who are carrying and then we say, we don't want you to carry on our property,
I know,
even if we're pretending the trucks aren't our property and we're just talking about buildings,
they're not.
I don't want weapons being left in a vehicle.
That's what.
Yep.
If people who are carrying and who carry every day, I would hope are smart enough to know what they're doing, because this probably isn't a new thing.
Have we asked our lawyers about that, our employment lawyers? New Hampshire employer lawyers, preferably.
But
I have not.
That's where we need to start.
yeah,
Okay.
We can want what we want, but if it ain't legal, it ain't worth talking about.
They're probably gonna look back at this 5-page document that doesn't tell you anything, and they're gonna tell us the same mud that we're reading already. clear as mud. You can, but you can't.
And the
Yeah,
thing
we'd
is,
have
though,
to
it's not
another
necessarily, I'm
lawyer.
worried that somebody from the MVD doing something wrong.
Right.
But if they're in a situation, even, you know, where they should have just, hey, get in the car and leave and call the police. I just don't want, God forbid, one of them, you know, pulls out a firearm and somebody else is quicker and they get killed, then we're, you know what I mean? I just don't, I don't
Yeah, and
know,
if
I
they
just
get-
kind of
If they get
dumbfounded.
injured and we authorize them to call out, carry the firearm, they could sue us.
Mm.
The employee could sue us. I mean,
It's a conundrum, but, so I will talk to
not for me.
lawyers about that specifically, with Joe and any of the other items. Again, it's just second read for the rest of them.
Yeah,
That was the only one that had a,
I would just say a previous commissioner who's no longer on the commission told me that someone in this company carries, and he was surprised about that. And he said he knows over at Pennachuck that it's prohibited. You can't carry in Pennachuck.
Yeah, I mean, I would ask the attorney if there's any reason we can't and disallow it. I would be in favor of disallowing it altogether. You leave it in your personal truck, that's where it stays. That would be
I'm
my
afraid of the
stance.
risk, the liability of MBD's part. That's what I'm afraid of.
Yeah, I don't think we're doing anybody any favors by letting them carry a gun to work. They're gonna,
Well-
only bad things could happen.
Well, you know, they could use it in defense of something. So that's the quandary.
I mean, I suppose, but
I don't know.
You have the problem that it's a constitution. I went through this as an employee in another state that has basically, not quite, but basically constitution carry. And the feedback that I got at the time from the law was, on your premises as an employer, you cannot prohibit anybody from carrying a gun, but you can disallow them to have one. And that means you can basically tell an employee to leave and not come back until they don't carry, right? Which is not the same, right? You have the right on your property, similar to your home. On your home, you can have a guest come in and they carry, and you can tell them, listen, you either put that thing in your car or, you know, bring it home, or you're not coming into my house. And the same is true for a business. And MVD in that regard is a business because MVD owns the property. It's not town property or state property, it's MVD property. Where it gets difficult is when you're driving around in a company vehicle, like Aaron said, that's a gray zone. For at least in the other state it was basically decreed that it doesn't count as property because it's it's not a postal address or taxable tax property, tax parcel. And the moment they basically, like a service technician, they go to a hotel room or drive around in a rental car, then all bets are off. Because it's a constitution carry state and the employer has no say, no jurisdiction over that.
And I'm fine with that as long, if the law says that the employer is not at fault if that gun is misused. I'm just looking out to minimize MBD's risk. That's
Sure.
really the only
Yeah.
thing
Right.
that,
I would say, and it makes me super nervous to tell employees to leave your gun in your vehicle.
that's right.
I would rather have it on their person than randomly in a vehicle that could get broken into and taken.
Well, I mean, I know from like my place to work, we're not allowed to have firearms in the workplace. And you can't even bring it in, you can't have it in our parking lot with it. So when people used to park outside the gate, say for hunting season or whatnot, so. I think that would probably be the only main reason why somebody would bring it outside of for personal protection is maybe hunting season, like right after work, I want to get the last bit of sunlight.
yeah.
But
Right. So
it's a sticky subject.
it is.
I mean, in all practicality, as an individual, I don't care.
Right.
But to protect the assets of MVD, we really need to think about it.
I wonder what the New Hampshire Municipal, I can never pronounce that damn word. What the Municipal Association says about that.
That's what is part of the New Hampshire Municipal.org is what the RSA 159 26. Which basically says you can't prohibit them, but you can ask them to leave. So it's basically, you
Right.
can't prohibit them, but it's not very defined.
Right.
Sounds very legal.
Yeah, this is a document from New Hampshire.
Oh, yeah, I
Municipal-
missed that. Okay.
Yeah.
That's on LC.org. Okay.
That's the one that kind of flops back and forth. It doesn't really answer the question. It
Oh,
poses the
because that's
question.
the
it
reality of
doesn't
the law
answer
right
it.
It's
now.
a very legal answer.
Yeah, typical.
Yeah, but that's from
Um,
2016, guys, too. July, August 2016. So let's go back. I mean, that's almost 10 years now. Let's go
Yeah,
back
that's
to
true.
our lawyers and ask them for updated information.
I agree. As far as the other topics on page 23 of 79, the very last line, last sentence, the decision to award such an increase is dependent on numerous factors, including the information documented. I was wondering if instead of saying the information, if it said including professional growth and improvement documented by the formal performance evaluation process. So it's talking about merit pay.
Yep.
The decision to award such an increase is dependent upon numerous factors, including professional growth and improvement documented by the formal performance evaluation process. It's just a little more specific of what the information is that it's being referred to. I think it might just read better if you just add the professional growth and improvement documented by the formal performance evaluation process. If you're okay with that. Let's see here on page 24. Let me see here. So the HR department will respond to all reference check inquiries from other employers or financial institutions. Responses to inquiries will confirm only dates of employment and positions held. Are we obligated to refrain from providing performance information legally?
You do want
Yeah.
to,
You don't want to open that door.
if they find out, say you said something and it prevents them from getting a job, you can sue, they can sue you.
Really? Okay.
Absolutely.
And I don't know if there's a better word we can find for blankly. For financial institution, salary or hourly rate will be confirmed, but not blankly given out. I don't know what,
Right, yeah.
maybe arbitrarily or something. I don't know what else to use there.
From what I know, that public or private employees are no longer confirming even pay rates. They prefer basically, the only thing they confirm is basically employment dates, not even position titles or pay rates.
Nobody calls you for a referral anymore. They just ghost you.
Both, and in everything that I had investigated. Some are changing, some still do it,
Mm,
but that they won't, if someone calls and says, how much are they making? That information, if they give you a number, you can confirm it.
Really?
You can't just say, oh yeah, they're making 45 grand.
So, is this for more for us if an employee of ours is applying elsewhere, or is this for you for getting information?
If they have left and someone calls for reference,
Okay,
or for financial institutions, if someone's applying for a mortgage.
well, could we, if somebody's applying for a mortgage, I would hope that they reach out to you and say, hey, so-and-so might be reaching out.
They fill out a form.
Thank you.
Again,
Yeah, does the employee have to notify you before you release that someone's gonna be calling you?
that's why I said I
Yeah.
will call to say.
Confirm with
Was this
the-
a real
Yeah, all
thought
right.
before I'm giving anything else?
So that's what it says here, is
I
that?
would,
Yeah.
I would require it in
HR reserves the
writing.
right to confirm the validity of all inquiries before providing any information. So for mortgage, yes, I would say I just got a message from DCU, is this real?
You think you want that in writing or something, or email, or
There's always a form where they sign off on it,
is
yeah,
there?
Yep.
Okay,
especially with mortgages.
can we go to that
For the
level?
most part, which is where the pay stuff, most people aren't calling employers
don't
anymore
need it.
anyway.
Yeah, they don't need
Oh,
it.
yeah. Oh, that's true. Yeah, pay stub is there.
Yeah, most generally, they ask for like 2 pay stubs and
Yep. They all have access to them, to get themselves, so. It's more in the rarity somebody may call.
Okay.
Any others?
On page 68, talks about, what am I looking there? Hold on. Where, somewhere it was, I forget where it is now. It's not on this page, I don't think. It's talking about tuition reimbursement.
That wasn't one of the ones that got changed. What was included in this?
So what is the policy on tuition reimbursement? I'm just asking because last time, I'm wondering, should we have a cap on that? It just said we're gonna pay for the classes or something, but doesn't say up to a certain level.
It does not. It has to be obviously job appropriate. I believe it's 100% with a B or better, 50%. For anything less than that grade. And then you have to agree to work 2 years after the payment, up to 2 years minimum,
okay, so
or you
this,
have to pay it back.
so this is not just for an employee to get the necessary licenses to,
This is like if someone
For-
wants to get, more
Bachelor's.
engineering degree or something that is job specific. Just a higher education level of it.
so you don't have a set amount a year for tuition reimbursement.
There is not a set amount, no.
I mean, that can be $8, $10, $15, $20,000 in a year.
But again, what they're going for needs to be appropriate for the job and also authorized by Ron. So, I mean, if they're going for a medical degree, obviously that's not job related.
Yeah. No, I understand that, but I mean, I know there's some grad classes that are $4,000 a semester for one class.
So Don, on a positive note, we have no budget for this. No, I'm not even kidding. I don't think we have a real budget for this, and certainly not in that kind of amount. So either way, even if a claim is being made,
Currently, do we have anybody taking advantage of the benefit?
We do not, and haven't since I've been here.
Wow,
Do they know about it?
I didn't know about it till I read it.
Get it. Give all this in writing when they sign on.
I don't know, I just feel it's kind of open-ended without a cap on it. I'd feel better with a cap. I don't know what that amount could be, but.
I don't disagree. I think I've always seen it with a cap in any.
Yeah, but even if you capped it, like per student, you wouldn't be able to cap how many people are doing it.
No,
So you could with the amount of people that work here and the amount of I feel like,
Just because it's not happening doesn't mean it won't.
everybody could decide next year that they wanted to all enroll in school and that would be an issue. But even if you said like a $10,000 cap per person, you could still end up with $100,000 that year if 10 people decide
Yeah,
so I don't know that a cap really helps you. It might lessen your odds slightly.
well, if you don't have a cap and then people come in and they want to take advantage of
But
this thing.
it's not like we're paying room and board and that kind of stuff for college either. It would have to be like a local.
Yeah.
University
And job related.
and job related.
Distribution or treatment.
Yeah,
we could just simply start out just to put a lid on this for now. We could say at the discretion of management.
It already says that the approval of Ron
Yeah.
with the superintendent's approval.
Yeah, but then he denies it and it's like, well, why are you designing it? Where's the background? Where's the cutoff? Where this?
Well, you can do that as long as it's not as long as it's evenly applied to everybody, even if, you know, obviously if it's the first case, then it's at discretion. If it's more than one case, then it has to be compared with other cases. And if it's consistent, then that's fine.
I don't know. I just don't like having nothing defined here.
I can add it to the third read,
What
the
number?
old version, and
Like $4,000 or something in a year or something like
That's-
that, or $2,000? I don't know what.
If somebody.
$2,000, they're not,
What's,
Nothing really much there.
yeah, and you figure like a SNSU, like a 8-week term, it's almost $1,000, you know,
Yeah.
and that's an 8-week term. So depending on what it is, I mean, I don't know if we have any partnerships with like the tech or something like that, or somebody was interested in that, but you know, I think it's at this moment, I think it's something maybe we should do a little more research on, but I don't think I don't think tomorrow a bunch of people are all of a sudden gonna decide to go, hey, I want to go
No,
here. I mean, I can see, as it is, just clarification. If they need a required license, we pay for them to get the training they need to get their license to help improve
it's
their.
required for their job, yes.
and that's not like a significant cost, I don't think. Those are probably hundreds of dollars, not thousands, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
yeah, and I think most of the population of MVD would be going to get an operator's license or something like that, not an engineering undergrad.
Right. All right, we'll leave it, let it go, and if someone wants to use it, that's another story, but.
So I can find that section right now, but my bigger concern would be not so much how much we contribute, but how long the employee is required to stay on for that tuition reimbursement to, you know, to be
Right.
holding. You
Well,
know,
I
I
think
wouldn't
it's-
have a problem paying somebody $20,000 if it gains us an employee that we can benefit from for the next 5 years, right?
Okay, well, currently it's what, 2 years?
It's two, which
Is that what
short,
it is? I
right?
can't find it right
Program
now,
like
sorry.
this.
Yeah, so we could like to go with Wolf, maybe
Bump it to 5.
bump it to 5 or 4 years.
I know some places have an annual cap plus a total payout cap. You know,
Yeah, I agree.
Do we have an HR support group like I have it through ADP
Mhm.
that we can ask these questions?
Not really.
Oh, good. Okay,
The HR.
It's finance forum.
Finance one.
that might be a support function that you consider using, especially where we're getting into all these things where we want to ask the lawyer. It might be cheaper just to have somebody. I know there's a million of them out there and they do require you to be a little proactive in asking the questions, but when there's questions that come up, like, is there a maximum I can make somebody work for me after I give them tuition reimbursement, all this other stuff? At least you have a place to ask the question instead of us just talking about it for half an hour and make all that wait on the line.
I think it just can be better defined. That's all I'm really kind of going for. All right, any other questions on that handbook? If not, we can go move forward to the review of the draft document retention, archiving and destruction policy. Second reading.
Second reading with the changes of adding under record categories computer equipment. And then under page 2, procedure scope, adding that superintendent will authorize the secure destruction of appropriate records and obtain a certificate of destruction where applicable.
Okay,
Do we need a motion to approve that?
If second read is good enough, yes.
Gonna sound silly, but how long do we have to keep the certificates of destruction for?
That I believe is forever.
Okay, because I don't know that that's on the list.
I think it's tied to whatever you destroyed. But that depends on the standard that we are obligated to follow. I'll make a motion to accept as presented.
Second. What's this thing on page 3 of 3? The MVD acting in regular session, blah, 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 voted in
That's,
favor
the
of
dates will
following.
need to be updated, but that's for this type of policy. It's just,
Is that the motion we want to make?
Yep.
So it says, voted that MVD shall begin immediate use of policy 24-01B as outlined above. Policy will be attached to the minutes of Today?
May 20th.
May 20th. Okay. All right, so Wolf, you made a motion. You get a second on that? Second by John. Any other questions, comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Wolf, how do you vote?
In favor?
Right, so that's 5-0-0. So we're good on that. We can move on to the next agenda item. Looks like we got Lynette on here from Underwood to talk about the wells 4 and 5 water treatment plant PFAS pilot columns and the pilot protocol. How you doing, Lynette? You there?
Yes, I am.
Great. All right.
There we go. Gotta unmute me. All right, so just an update. We did meet with Dexorb. That was one of the novel medias that had offered to back like last August had offered to deliver their pilot unit and let us use that. And then you had expressed interest of, well, could we still do that? Because that would give us an extra set of columns. So we talked to them. They are still on board to do that. They gave us a proposal that for running 6 months, we went back to because that's when they could, I guess, confirm that it works. We went back and said, hey, can we run? Could we have it? Make sure we can have it longer than that because, you know, we're thinking this is going to run longer than that to try and get to breakthrough. And they said, fine, they didn't have a problem with that. They want to do duplicate testing. So on that set of columns, we would be pulling 2 samples. One would go to your lab, one would go to them to analyze.
So they're analyzing it at their own cost, basically?
Yep.
Okay.
So that's where we stand with that one. So that gives us the 6 columns you have plus 1, so essentially 7 columns. We've had a few meetings with EPA and they've gotten back to Jill. Jill had asked if they could use, if we could set it up to use the Alpha Labs that you guys have been using, because they pick up the samples and everything, and they checked into that and they came back and they said, okay, and they're going to make arrangements to do that. And then the other thing that we had checked with them was kind of their plan was they go through this whole validation process with the results. So they were planning to kind of hold the results until the end. Almost, you know, we go through this whole validation process before they would issue results. And it sounded like it was going to be, you know, months and months after the sample was pulled before we would get them. So they have agreed though to give us like preliminary results that we can use internally at least. And then the validated results will come later. So we will have more rapid turnaround of the results, you know, more like when they come from the lab, we'll get them. Because that was another concern. If we don't get the data, it's hard, you know, as we're going to run behind until the end. So yeah, so they got back to us and said that was okay too. We have retained Blue Leaf as a sub-consultant. So they're going to help with the columns, help loading the media, any modifications to the columns, because like if we're going to run resins, we need pre-filter, you know, some 5-micron pre-filters and some of them and those kind of things. So they'll take care of doing that. We're trying to get out and meet with the operators this week
to kind of try and finalize everything of what needs to be done and, you know, finalize what medias we're gonna do. So we'll be all ready to kind of kick it off and get it loaded up. Blue Leaf's also gonna train the operator on how to run the pilot, columns, you know, and sampling and that sort of stuff, and, help us out with data analysis. So in the protocol, we've done some revisions to add that information to it, you know, now that we know what's going on with Dexorb and we've kind of nailed down things with EPA, so that's been changed. Right now, we're proposing monthly sampling, just because I think that would be easiest. It kind of lines up with what you guys do anyways, you know, testing all of the at all the different plants. When we had talked to EPA, they had talked about doing bi-weekly sampling. In talking with Blue Leaf, they were like, that seems like too much. We don't really need that. If that's what EPA really wants, you know, they're doing the sampling, we could do that, but you know, they were saying at least 3 weeks we could go between samplings. So just to try and make it easy for the staff, we're talking about monthly right now, but I thought that's something we'll talk more with Blue Leaf on when we meet with them again and talk to the operators and stuff, you know. I mean, if they're okay with doing 3 weeks, maybe we go 3 weeks, but that just seemed like a kind of an odd schedule, you know, if they're trying to do it, but so still in discussion on that. Yeah, that's about it. We are planning to do evaluation like during startup, you know, conditioning, doing more frequent sampling there to try and you know, evaluate the conditioning process and what kind of what side things happen, you know, during that. So we have some information on that, what to expect if it was full scale kind of thing. Oh, and then the media, I know last time we talked, we did change the proposed media around a little bit because I think we had proposed only one resin because we didn't have enough columns. So if we move the Dexorb over to their column system, that frees up an extra column. So we're looking at one column of the Ultra Carb 1240 LD that you have for a control, so we can compare to what you've got. One of the Calgon meat GAC, one of Norit GAC, 2 novel medias being the Fluorosorb and the Dexorb, and then there's room for 2 resins. I know you had expressed interest in trying the Lanxess resin because, you know, they're making claims for good run times. That's, you know, that it is a little bit different. It seems like it is a different resin than some of the other gel-based resins, so it seems like you know, why not? And then I was thinking, as far as the resins, you know, you can get the resins in either a gel-based or a macroporous resin. So we were thinking, if we're going to do the Lanxess as the gel, do we do a Calgon macroporous resin so that we're testing both types of resin? Unless anybody has any specific feelings of what resins you want to try.
Well, one thing I do know about the Purolite, the PFA 694E,
Yep,
I was working on a project of mine and a client wanted to replace the GAC vessels he has with resin, with that Purolite resin.
yep,
And the problem is that the vessels are too big. The carbon vessels that he has are too big.
yep,
And what happens is if you load that with Purolite resin,
yep,
because the cross-sectional area is large,
yep,
the gallons per minute per square foot is below their recommended level, and they said that that would actually lead to channeling and premature breakthrough.
okay.
So I'm not sure if anyone's looked at the manufacturer's recommendations for the gallons per minute per square foot, Because when you look at these columns, they're very narrow and long.
Yeah,
It's like 40 inches by 4 inches, right? 40 inches
Yeah.
long, 4 inches diameter.
Yeah.
So that's like a ratio of like 10. Whereas our GAC vessels and the vessels you normally see in full scale usually are, the length is not usually 10 times the diameter. So I'm wondering, is this,
well, when we load the pilot columns, I mean, those columns were designed for GAC. So that,
yeah,
so you can do a GAC with a 10-minute empty bed contact time. and
Right.
that's Something we're gonna go over, we're gonna work out all the details with Blue Leaf later this week.
okay,
But the resins and these novel medias only have, a 3-minute empty bed contact time or max 5 compared to a 10-minute on the GAC. So I'm
So you could
guessing
probably-
we're only gonna be filling,
okay,
the
good.
lower part of the column, I assume it's gonna have a much shorter bed in the columns than the GAC will.
Yeah, all right. Because I wanted to make sure that we weren't going to do something that would cause
Yeah.
premature breakthrough, because that's what we're trying to extend. And I don't know, I only know about the Purolite resin. I don't know about the other ones that you mentioned over here. So just want to make sure we're operating within their standard recommending operating
Yep.
bracket,
So, yeah, we're proposing to do their empty bed contact time
Right.
with the column, with the pilot.
Which kind of means if we ever wanted to replace our GAC vessels with resin, they're probably gonna be too big, so I guess,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it may depend on the type of resin too. I mean, we were told during the design, oh yeah, you just need to switch out the septas in the bottom and the distributor in the top, and you could switch it to resin. So the distributors, the collectors, in the bottom of them are actually designed for resin. So those can handle the resin, and then you would just have to, this is what the manufacturer told us anyways, is we could just switch out the upper distributor in the top to do it with resin. I know with the Fluorosorb, I know that's not going to be for sure. I don't think it's gonna be able, well, let me back up. They've had trouble with the Fluorosorb being able to backwash with a higher column of water above it because it's a heavier media, it's got like a 3-minute empty bed contact time. So it's, much less material in the bottom. And the backwash hasn't been able to get the solids all the way up and out the top.
oh yeah,
What they've been doing is changing the internals and where it goes out, where it leaves the vessel, basically bringing that down to a lower level so
Yeah.
that they can get the solids out of it, so they're doing, there's different modifications that they're kind of working through with some of these medias to be able to retrofit. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, with any of the novel medias or the resins, I don't know for sure or what would need to be done if it was to be used to be replaced in your existing vessels.
right,
It may be, if we get to that point and it's, one of these medias looks great and we want to try it out, then we'll have to talk about, can we put it in the vessel, as your second vessel, or do we need to add, another vessel to it, a smaller, because it would be a much smaller vessel that you'd be
yeah,
adding
right.
if it was a third one, so.
Because you can basically take more flow through resin than you can GAC, so that's where it.
Right,
comes
you can do it at a faster rate because it doesn't need the contact time that the absorption of the GAC's slow, if you will, compared to the resin. So we haven't really dug into the nuts and bolts of, if we wanted to use one of these medias, how it would go in or what would have to be done.
Yeah, so I just want to make sure we don't test the
Yeah.
resin that we would have to kind of redo all of our treatment plant in order to use that resin in full scale. Like at wells 2 and 9, we could probably put both wells through one train, one lead and one lag vessel. You could like double the flow and just leave one train offline actually. But at wells 4 and 5 or 7 and 8, where you only have 2 vessels, if those two vessels are too big.
Oh,
we'd
I
have to
see what you're
replace the
saying, if
vessel.
you wanted a higher rate at.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay, yep.
So
yeah,
just a
sure.
thought on that. Something
Yeah,
we
and
could- we could look
that's
at triple
something,
decker
like I
dock.
say, we haven't really
Send
gotten
it off and
into
have
that.
three ports.
Into that with them yet, because I mean, we've got, 6 different medias we're trying. I figured it
Right.
would be better to see how they're doing, and if one's, if there are a couple that seem to be performing well with the water that you have and seem like they're more promising, then start digging into it with that of, okay, well, what and how would we do this,
all right.
right?
Yeah, if you want to just make a note to make sure that the pilot test is going to be operating in the same parameters as
Yep,
the manufacturer recommends.
yep.
I think that's important.
Well, and I think we do have the empty bed contact time in here somewhere.
Yeah, and I'm also talking about the cross-sectional flow.
Yeah,
Because if it's too low, that's what causes channeling, from what I understand. And channeling leads to early breakthrough.
I will double check those.
On table 1, it says that you're sampling raw and finished water, pilot system influent, pilot system effluent. So I'm assuming you're only doing one influent because it's going to be the same water
Right,
divided by the 7 columns, right?
yep.
All right. Let's see if I had anything else. I think so. Yeah, I mean, on table 3, I think you have the surface loading rate. It's 2.5 for all of the test columns, I believe. So that, just confirm that number is within the operating parameters of the manufacturers.
Yep.
Let's see. I think that's all I had. All right, so you don't need anything else from us, just an update on this and
Yeah, and just, we just wanted to run things by you and get your input before we, I mean, I think after we meet, it'll just be a matter of getting the media and getting it in and be
Yeah.
ready to start it up. So before we go do that, just wanted to make sure you guys are on board.
anyone else have any questions?
So Don, did you have any input on the resins though? I mean, would you rather run 2 gels or do a gel and a macroporous or?
Maybe split them, is that what you were thinking as well? Kind
Well,
of.
that's what I was thinking. I was thinking
Yeah.
since the Lanxess one is a gel, maybe it would be better to try a different type, try the Calgon macroporous instead of running 2 gels, because the Purolite's another gel based.
Yeah,
I think that would be kind of cool. And then if, say, if the gels did really good, then maybe next we would just run some gel options,
Right, at the next plant or something, test more of them if they seem like they're.
Right.
yeah, I think I'd agree with that.
Okay. All right, so we'll plan on doing the Calgon macroporous resin and the Lanxess gel resin.
Does Ron have any input on this?
Yeah, we're meeting with him. We're meeting with him and Brian later this week.
Yeah,
Ron's at the school board meeting right now, Wolf.
Oh, that's right, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
he's not being very
I figured
quiet.
I figured we'd do the finalization, kind of in the field with those guys.
Right. Any idea on what possible time schedule we might be looking at, like months out or at all, or are we still kind of too far away to really pin that down, I guess?
To start it, to load it?
Yeah, to actually start doing it.
I would think like within a month, probably.
Oh, really? Good.
We can get the media and stuff. I mean, I think we're like almost there, having everything planned out, right? I mean,
Yeah,
it
Yeah,
may
I would-
depend on how long we can get the how long it takes to get the media.
yeah,
I mean, usually when we do regular pilots, it's not that bad to get the media. Sometimes actually the resins seem to be the tougher ones sometimes. They may take a few weeks to get, but
okay. I guess we're good then.
Good.
Keep us updated.
Will do.
All right,
All right,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on, we're looking at the minutes from the April 15, 2024 regular Board of Commissioners meeting. Does anybody have any corrections or anything to make on those? If not, then I'll entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second,
All right, motion by Ken, second by Aaron. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Wolf, how do you vote?
In favor?
All right, so that's passes 5-0-0, those minutes. Now we got the action items from previous meetings. Let's see here. The first one for May is distribution system results. I thought that was,
I was not here.
So we did sample, I didn't bother printing out reports and all that stuff because everything was non-detect on April 25th.
was it really? Good.
On the distribution, it's always non-detect.
All right, good. So you're gonna just fill a table out and keep track of that and we'll present it as we go on. So I guess we're doing that quarterly, right? So we want to bump that out.
August.
June, July, August. You can change that last column in item 23 to August, Amanda, if you could.
Sounds good.
The next one for May is number 58 and the mineral graphs.
Those are in the packet.
Yep, they were, weren't they? Good. So change that one to August as well, number 58. Then the next one in May is inquiry with the DOT about moving the no salt sign close at exit 10. I don't know if you have anything on that for Ron.
Well, Ron's at the school board meeting right now to get the final sign off on the salt reduction. Once we have that, we go to DOT, and then once DOT signs off and we get this approved, then they'll move the sign. So it's all still going
Connected.
along.
Yep. So change 67 and 68 to, how often were we doing that? I guess we can change 67 in next month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So change that from May to June. And then investigate if grant funding is available for AR and Mitchell Woods.
That's on hold.
Yeah. I don't know if we want to put a change just to drop the date on the end of the last column there and,
How about like a TBD?
yeah, or, yeah.
Or maybe put it as like September, just so that we have.
Yeah, to follow up on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, why don't you change that? Why don't you change that to September, number 68, Amanda, if you could?
Okay.
Everybody's okay with that? Update on water line extension status.
Ron, give me a write-up on it. On May 7th, we had a meeting with DES to go over draft drawings and preliminary opinion of costs. Preliminary costs show that the projects are very close to the funding limits for the water mains only. MVD would like to accommodate the services because of the roadway restoration. All services are installed to limit the number of times needed to go dig in the road. DES indicated that MVD could submit a drinking water SRF application due by May 31st to request additional funding for the project. DES is to review other funding opportunities and limitations with existing funding. Palmieri and Girard area has significant ledge, and there's doubt whether extending services to the edge of the right of way would make it attractive for property owners to connect because of high costs on the private property side. MVD concluded that a public meeting with the property owners in this area may be helpful and needed and would be further discussed among the project team. All items related to the main extensions can be covered. Under the current funding, there can be no mix of funds between the scope of the public the PRLF, what it stands for, project number 31 and 32. If funding is adjusted, a single project may be an option. So basically, they may commingle the funds and make it one project instead of having two.
Oh. That would be good. A little more flexibility there, I guess.
So that's it, the updates on those lines.
And I don't know if you guys noticed, but after the action items is 2-page table, actually multi-page table, but this and it's what Jill was talking about with the, I don't know who put this together. It was probably Underwood. Looks like Underwood's work.
Yes, this was the,
So it's got the two different projects, the water line extensions and the base bid.
so you're gonna see some documents in there for one project, some documents in there for another one. So I highlighted the ones at the top, so you, it'd be easier to find out which ones go to which project.
Right. So it looks like there's options in here if, because it looks like it's running over budget. It's
Right.
over the $3 million grant. I thought one of these was like 3.7, right? Plus option.
But it says option 2 PFAS only, would that be to only do services to the homes affected by PFAS?
I think so. Probably should, I don't know, well, Lynette wasn't the right one from Underwood to know this anyways, right?
Right. Basically, they're looking at the line, and this area has a ton of ledge, it's go over budget. People aren't gonna want to pay to hook up to these mains if they gotta spend $1 million to get it to the line. But so he's talking about working with the state would help us get some relief funding for homeowners to defer some of those costs, to make it more attractive.
Is it mostly Paul Mary that seems to be the biggest concern with ledge? I don't know. I guess what I'm wondering is all these options is, are they looking for us to provide direction on which way to go? Because,
Not at this point, because we're still looking at the funding options, so these numbers,
all right,
they may be changed, they may cut, we covered, this was the big, the first big meeting.
one of if the desire that we were looking for, looks like the cost is like almost 3.8 million. So it's, pretty close to 20% or more over than we'd have to come up with the difference unless there's additional grant funding, that would be good. But if there's not,
There's more money available.
I would
So we'll
prefer
figure out
to,
How it's gonna be structured for those two
Yeah.
projects.
I guess I would prefer before we relinquish anything and give up what we wanted to do, like put the services to the edge of the right of way. If we can secure more funding for that, I'd like to keep it the way we had anticipated before we give up something, is what I'm saying, right?
Right.
So maybe we'll wait, see if the funding comes through.
This is just a preliminary, and we've still got a lot of work to do to figure that out.
All right. Because I know even if we design it that way, we still have time and it just, when it goes to construction, we can at that point say, don't put all the services in or whatever, so we can make those decisions later. I just didn't want to hold up the advancement of the project totally, So just wanted to make you guys aware that that's there. Okay, so where are we? At number 85, I think, the search for financial accounting software.
Is still ongoing. I've got one more demo. And then it's basically sitting down with Amy and Ron and discussing all the new ones we've looked at and the pros and cons of everything.
Yep. Again, I'd say don't rush into something unless you know it's exactly what you want. You're better off waiting and finding
We only
that
want to change one.
perfect gem.
That is correct.
You want to bounce this off till June and see if you have something to report next month, or you
That's
think,
fine.
okay, so that's number 85. Change that to June, Amanda.
Okay.
Employee handbook. Do we do a final reading next?
I think
So
we,
we've got to talk to legal and stuff.
Oh, that's right.
So we may want to bump that to July
So keep it as a second reading
Yeah.
in a second.
and change 86 to July. You want to,
So
Give
I
it a
think
little more
it's important
time.
to find.
Okay.
The third reading.
third
It'll
reading,
be third, but with, yeah,
final necessarily, unless we vote on
if
it.
you agree with whatever legal
Okay,
tells us is appropriate.
all right, so change it to third read. And make that July.
Gotcha.
Okay, next item for May was number 88, a PFAS filtration media alternative vendor plan. I think Ron's probably still working on that.
Yes.
You think we should bump that to June and think he'd be ready for it, or July? I don't know.
To June, I'm not sure where he's at.
He didn't leave you any update on it or anything, right? All right, let's make number 88, change it to June.
Okay.
Going on to number 92, update website for salt use reduction alternatives.
Still looking into those.
Yeah, all right. Let's, well, let's put it in June, see if we can find anything. You can always kick it down the road later if nothing's available. 94, assess the cost of flushing water wasted at well 7 and 8.
That whole write-up was actually in the packet last month. Brought it up, a write-up of.
Yeah.
And stuff, so.
Yeah, we tabled that last time, I think.
Oh, did we?
Yeah.
All right, so we can retire that one then, number 94?
Well, we should probably talk about it, and I think part of it was that we should think, the whole idea of that exercise was to see if we have any
It was worth it, right?
damages to claim with a third party.
Right.
So,
And I don't remember the resolution of it. It was not worth pursuing.
Right, I thought it would spend more on legal fees and.
Right, we didn't want to talk about it.
Yeah. All right.
really, is that, I don't recall that.
We'll put it in for the next board meeting, we put it the write-up, and take a look at it again.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
we
why don't
can't
we-
really keep talking about that in public, right? If anything, this would be a discussion, it would be a non-meeting with legal.
Well, I mean, we can assess what the cost of the flushing was.
Yeah, we can do that.
So let's bump that 94 to June, see if we can bring back whatever information we had last time. Number 95. Oh, go
But
ahead,
then-
Wolf.
I would like to see that on the agenda though, then not on the action items, so we actually talk about and prepare for it.
For 94.
Yeah, as an agenda item instead then? Okay,
Okay.
but let's still keep that for June. And we can kill it next month if we address it.
Okay, I will also make note on this that it should be an
Make-
agenda item. I think Ron and Joe go through them every month.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yes, maybe.
Everybody good with that one? All right, number 95, update on water line extensions. I think you'd kind of just, oh, that's not just,
It's St. Gobain.
yeah, that's the St. Gobain one.
So I've been actually speaking with a couple of people over there, we got a set of plans in, they, took a look at it, somebody called in, we just bought a home over on Christopher and his mom actually called and asked about hooking up, how much it would cost and that type of thing, and I said, wait, hang on a second, let me go back and look and see if you're in the area, and he was. But on the plans, his house wasn't listed, but we found out, through going through the engineering firm, if the application and the authorization to be on the property to design was not
Filled out.
defined or agreed to, they just don't end up on the plans. So they didn't have any access to these people and they didn't allow them to go on the property, so they didn't have them on the design. So now they can still go and apply. They gave me an 800 number hotline for St. Gobain. This gentleman called and left a message yesterday, and so today. And we'll
Huh.
see, but if they're not on the plans, it doesn't mean that they can't apply for water. It just means that it wasn't designed.
So does that mean they're not gonna leave him leave that address a service connection or something?
Right.
No, they probably will still do that, but as far as hooking them up,
Okay,
because that's their obligation is to hook up.
Yeah,
to
that's
the
right.
Properties, so.
Is it something that somebody should double check these plans and see who's missing?
it's not
And
a
never-
contract. It's not- The engineers
Yeah.
have contacted, they sent out letters way back, asking for authorization, explaining the program, they've had meetings. And just like this one person.
Cause I
selling
just
his
have
house.
this like horrible feeling that the contractor's gonna be in the road and people are gonna be like,
where's my water
how come no one told me about this? I didn't get anything. I just bought this house 6 months ago. I just like, that makes me feel horrible.
So that was a real estate transfer since the original? It's kind of like
Whoever lived there before decided that they weren't gonna deal with. the whole
Ignored it.
hookup thing, because they were putting it on the market anyway.
Oh, so that's the problem then. It's like a loophole. It can
Right.
fall through the cracks type of
You didn't
thing.
say yay or nay, you,
Well, the property changed and the new owner wants it and the old owner didn't care because they were selling.
yeah.
Well, WSP's in contact.
Yeah.
With the homeowners over there, and I don't know if, how often they sent out letters, but there's probably gonna be one or two.
Yeah. I know, I've heard it seems to be going slower than everybody had expected.
The contract has been awarded to two contractors. What they're waiting for is Saint-Gobain to give a start date, because they can't get their bond until they have a start date and a finish date. Because they're obligated to, say it's 30 days, 60 days, whatever it is, they need to have start and finish dates. Saint-Gobain hasn't told them what their start date is yet, so they can't get the bond, so they can't sign the contract and get it back to Saint-Gobain. So they're waiting on Saint-Gobain.
Okay. All right, so next one is the last one, number 96. Cybersecurity information, staff to discuss which contractors they have engaged with.
That's been on the packet a couple times now.
Well, yes and no. Define what you just meant.
There was a write-up, Kristen.
What's that?
The lady doesn't handle that one because she did the write-up.
Of where we were, whether or not you guys, basically who we've been dealing with, whether or not you wanted to speak to Block 5, where they stand with a lot of things. The last meeting you said you didn't need to speak with Jason from Block 5.
Well,
Based-
well, there were two things. So there was an email that was forwarded to me from Block 5 from Jason that answers some things, but it also doesn't answer certain things, and some of the answers tell me that he didn't understand the question 100%. The other thing is, then there was a printout of an email from Underwood supplier that was added to the board package in April, and that one closed a couple of gaps as well. Unfortunately, I don't have that email. I only have the hard copy, and since it's scanned, I can't copy and paste the text of that email. What I had planned to do in the last meeting was to take all the information we have so far, write everything up and summarize and report back to the board basically what we have covered and where I think we still have gaps. If somebody could forward me the email that Brian, Heekin, I think is his last name, right? If I could get that email sent to me, I could copy the answers from the Underwood engineer out of that email. The email is dated March 21st. If I could get that email sent to me, then I can summarize what we have so far and we take it from there.
Do that.
That's great. Thanks for looking into that, Wolf.
Mhm.
So we want to just change that for next month potentially.
Yep.
All right, so number 96 can change to June. And those are the only ones on the list. Do we have any, we added this? Nothing so far in this meeting, I don't think.
Nothing today.
Okay.
Looks lacking.
We're at 2 pages, we can't add.
Yeah, I know, right? All right, so so that's good with the action items. So the next thing is old business. Anybody has any old business? Seeing none. New business?
Sorry, I wasn't quick enough with my mute button.
Oh.
Two quick things. The town calendar update. Ron and I had talked about that after the last meeting, or maybe the one prior. And Ron wanted to see about setting up a process and somebody responsible to update whoever is responsible on the town's end to receive and post MVD specific updates for the calendar. So local residents have one source for whatever activities are out there. Do we know where that stands?
No. Do you want
An
to
action item?
make an action item on that one?
Yes. I knew it.
We have to add something on.
August looks empty.
All right, so I guess the action item would be to update MVD schedule on the town calendar. Is that kind of capture what you're looking to do?
Yeah, or basically feedback from the superintendent about how MVD ensures that the town calendar is up to date with MVD meetings.
Okay. You good with that,
Another quick
Amanda?
one- I'm sorry?
Yep.
Yes.
I would just, yeah, okay.
And then another quick one, we talked, I think, in the last meeting about odd even irrigation. And the fact that it contains a lot of information, but it doesn't clearly call out that really the limitation is in regards to lawn irrigation. So there's constantly questions about, can I water my veggies? Can I water my flowers? Can I run like a sprinkler toy for my kids on a hot summer day, even if it's not my day of the week? And we had said in the last meeting that we should review that and maybe make it a little bit clearer that it's specifically addressing the lawn irrigation, but it does allow for people to wash their car or again, water their veggies and flowers and run a.
I know Amy updated that, if you wanna take a look and see if.
She did?
Yeah,
Okay. Might be, I don't know. Okay, I'll have a look.
okay.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing that. Somebody was asking us.
No.
This-
postcard.
this
It was
week.
updated right after the last meeting, because I had
Okay.
her
Okay,
reword it.
And then I got a little
She worked-
postcard this week that had
And it
the,
was on, yeah. Her and Ron worked
Or
on
last
on the rewording, and she updated the website.
Okay,
all right, so maybe take a look at that and see if she captured everything. If not, we could bring it back to discuss at the next meeting.
okay.
Anything more? I would say I got this consumer confidence report in the mail. It was very well done. I like the way it's got the QR code on there. It was really well done. Nice small little card like that. Very happy with that. Good job. I got in a butter to Wells 4 and 5 emailed me, and this has been going on in the past. I think we talked about it before. There's a lot of ATV traffic. Well, one ATV that I've seen that zips up and down the road. When we were out there last few weeks, we had meetings with 3 governor candidates out there at Wells 4 and 5. And when I was out there, one of the ATVs was whizzing by. So when a butter asked if there's anything we can do about it, and I guess, I don't know if we should maybe make an agenda item on it, because I kind of want to see, or maybe if Ron was here, I don't know if he had any input on it, but and I know he's spoken to the police before. The police will go out if someone calls, but by the time they go out, I guess the ATVs are usually gone. So
We do have security cameras over there that alert Ron, and we were talking about this the other day. He's seen the ATVs out there, but what he's capturing, they're being very respectful. They're staying on the road. They're not going
Yeah.
through the lawn. He's seen a couple motocross dirt bikes come out of the pit, go around our fence, but very slowly going up the hill and back around again. So he's not seeing any destruction like we had seen before. The police do a regular patrol down there. We talked about, or we suggested to put up police down there, but then the police are restricted. So allowing them to go down and around, it gives them more, they can see more. I know I saw the email from the gentleman, and I mean, if this guy's buzzing up and down on the road, you really don't have any authority to say anything. He's done all the right things. He's called the police. He's, and made his concerns clear.
yeah, I think it's more of a nuisance that he's talking about, but it also said in the letter that is MVD under any kind of liability if someone gets hurt on the property.
It's posted private property.
I don't think it is posted. I went in the entrance road and there's not one sign.
I feel like as soon as you take a right in, there's one right there, and then you go around.
Well, we should look at that because maybe it was removed. Because that's one of the questions I had is if it's not posted. I mean, I think there should be my understanding of what's allowed in a wellhead protection area, and this is Massachusetts, because I don't do much work in New Hampshire, but it's passive recreation, which is basically hiking and walking, biking. I don't think motorized vehicles are allowed in a wellhead protection, a sanitary protection,
But it's
a 400-foot
is
radius.
it posted no ATVs?
It's not.
So, I mean, if you post a sign, then you can also notify the Fish and Game in a sense. Cause I don't know, if they're out there or whatever, cause they, who knows if it's not posted for them not to use the ATVs out there.
Right.
Right. We have a sand pit right next door too, so there's
Yeah,
plenty of times that vehicles are out there,
And that's property that MVD owns or not?
some of
It
it,
is, right?
well, it's the sand pit overall.
Longa. We own part of it and Longo owns part of it.
Again, I'm looking at it from a liability perspective.
Yeah.
If
If
it's
there's a
posted,
restriction for ATVs in the wellhead protection area, it's not part of like the town zoning ordinance or anything. I don't know if it's a state requirement, like you were talking about Massachusetts, but there's nothing in like
well,
town zoning.
that's only
For
for
the well.
within the sanitary protection area. The state might have that, but
Right.
the sand pits are outside of that area anyways. But my point is, again, looking out for risk liability on MVD's part. Some kid breaks his neck, he's gonna sue MVD,
But if it's close to private property, then
but it doesn't say you can't be there. It just says, it doesn't say no trespassing. It doesn't say no ATVs.
that's.
So these are legal concerns. I'm not sure why we're going back and forth on these. None of us are lawyers, right? If you want to secure the property, ask the lawyer how to secure the property. Would be my suggestion.
Put up a sign, you don't have to have a lawyer tell us for $500 to, I don't know, put up a sign.
I'll look into it and see what we have posted, but everywhere else we've got.
There seems to be some disagreement about it. I don't know.
Water source or something that's, I forget what the wording is.
Well, I think the question is more I agree with John. The question is more the liability question. Are we really liable if somebody decides to just go on if somebody goes on my property, I don't have anything posted here, but if somebody comes on here doing something other than walking up here and on
Right.
ice, right, and breaks his neck, I don't see how I can be liable for that. It's none of their business to be on my property.
Yeah, so that's a good question, John. You're right. That we could get a legal question about what would happen in that case,
Definitely, I think it would give us some clarity on direction.
Yeah.
I think the
I mean,
liability question is the real question we need to clarify.
I guess the question I'm wondering is if it's not posted that you can't do that, does that increase our risk?
I'll find out exactly what's posted, but I don't know if it's posted over there.
Yeah, I thought there were signs
Private
that
property,
say,
no trespassing or something, because that's how the police can enforce.
But this
Yeah,
is,
I thought so
yeah, it says
too,
like
but I.
water protection area or something, no trespassing. I mean, I've seen them when Ron and I went out.
Can we just grab some from up here
So I
on the fences up here?
asked him, I was like, this would be a great picnic spot. And he's like, well, you're fine.
well, think
And
about it.
it's-
If I'm a hunter and I go on my neighbor's property because I go after some animal and I stumble and fall onto my, or break a leg because there's a hole in the ground, I can't, there's no.
I wouldn't say you can't sue them. I'm not sure that you can.
I can look into it.
I can, but I'm not gonna win.
And also, if you didn't want them on there, you would have signs saying no hunting.
On a similar matter, there's no, and I don't know if we don't want signage out there, but there's nothing that says like MVD treatment plant here or something like that. I don't know if we don't want that, maybe. All
I
right,
don't want to draw attention, I had a discussion with Primex over the 7 and 8, the construction sign out there that was given a modular.
okay. So that's why, because
What
when,
about
Insurance guy?
What about fencing? I'm not too familiar how much land is there,
That's a lot of.
lot of land.
to,
Down at 4 and 5?
yeah,
I don't know how much. Decent size, goes almost to the river.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think you'd have to fence a lot of property to make it secure.
They can come in through the railroad tracks, the sand pits over there. They can come in behind Parker Village. It's woods all around, so it's
yeah. So, yeah, so fencing is not a good idea.
I mean, the reason I was talking about signage, because when we met with the three governors candidates, luckily, the street address works on GPS. But I was thinking to myself, you know, I'm like, you go around the curve, it's the first driveway on the right. But there's nothing that says what it is, so somebody that doesn't know where they're going, the GPS seems to work pretty good, so that's the good part of it, so.
I mean, there's no, them being out there is no harm to the wells 4 and 5. So that's
Who's
right.
that, people walking around?
Or the running the ATVs.
No, as long as they don't vandalize, which they have in the past, at least on one occasion.
Yeah.
They did some damage on the grass and whatever.
But,
There was a window or something shot out at one point, but that doesn't mean it's the ATV people. you know?
right,
But,
I'm sure the vast majority of them, like you're saying, are respectful, like you were
We
saying.
have regular walkers down there with the dogs, we got there's families that walk down there with
Right.
baby carriages, it's not just ATVs.
yeah, which is passive recreation. I don't have a problem with that. I'm just a little worried about the ATV riders if it's a risk liability on us, but, and someone brought to my attention that the website needs to be updated as far as the commissioners. Because somebody said that, somebody told me that yours still says that,
It was like because we just got reelected?
yeah, I don't think it's been updated since then, maybe.
Yeah, I think, yes, but I can double check on that.
All right. I didn't check myself. Somebody else told me that. They were like, hey, that commissioner was supposed to be elected. And I'm like, yeah, she was.
I was more votes than you guys.
And the last thing is, Chris Christensen reached out to Wolf and myself and wanted to know if he wanted to come down and be on next month's agenda just to explain what the trustees of the trust funds do for MVD. If anybody had any question on that, I don't know. He offered to come. I didn't feel like I wanted to tell him not to. If he wants to come, does anybody want to listen to have it on the agenda for?
I think in a public forum, maybe some people outside of here.
Benefit to understand how that all, yeah. All right,
Well, I mean, he wasn't really specific what he wanted to share, right? So,
no, but I just spoke to him today.
oh, you did? I'm sorry, I missed that.
Yeah, because I got back to him and I told him I couldn't reply to him until probably after the holiday, but I reached out and I said, you know, what are you looking for? And so that was one of the matters that he brought up. So,
Yeah, so I mean, it's
so it
public.
is updated?
The commissioners are updated. Yep.
Oh.
Yeah, I just checked too. It looks good.
So if we want to see if that wants to get on the next month's agenda at his request.
You'll email them, let them know that.
Yeah, I can if you guys, yeah, okay, let's put it on there. I'll let them know then. I'll do that. And then lastly, we met with 3 of the governor candidates. Joyce Craig, Cindy Warmington, and Kelly Ayotte over the last few weeks, just to, at Wells 4 and 5, to show them what's going on with, you know, the PFAS issues and kind of discussing with them about some of their, if they are to be elected governor, you know, how they would approach the different matters. So, so that was good to have them out there. And I did get a good response card from Cindy Warmington thanking us. And I think Ron got one too. So I think it's in MVD's interest to, you know, discuss PFAS matters and funding and whatnot, and, you know, whatever else with whoever gets in the corner office. So that's, people reached out to me on that. I didn't seek it out. They reached out to me. So, so that's it. Any other new business? If not, the superintendent report, if Ron left
Actually,
it for you.
quick-
Oh, go ahead, Wolf.
Yeah, quick one. I just saw on the website the treasurer, Lynn Christensen, for one, is misspelled. The last name is misspelled. And while we're at it, I know that Lynn had been looking for a while for a successor, and a couple of years ago, based on requests from staff, we changed the treasurer position to an appointed position from an elected position. And the argument was that we wanted to make sure that we have skilled people filling that position. I will repeat my concern, and I think it's now vindicated. It's been, I think, 3 years that we made that change, maybe 2. And to my knowledge, I don't know if we even interviewed anybody for that appointed position, respectively, you know. But I have not seen staff presenting anybody to the board to fill that position. And Lynn Christensen only filled that position as a courtesy to the MVD until staff presented an appointed position.
I was unaware of that.
First time hearing of it.
I thought when we were gonna do, I thought she was only doing temporary, but then when we changed it, she became permanent.
Well, we
But I
might need
didn't
to have.
know- Are you saying she's looking to have someone else take that position over? I wasn't aware of that.
That was my understanding, and if that's not the case, then it might be worth a discussion, but I recall her telling me that some time ago, so maybe
okay.
I can follow up with her.
Yeah, you
They
could.
better check in with her, yeah.
yeah, please do.
All right, that's a good point. Anything else on new business? If not, superintendent report?
So we got a couple things. The CCR is, you'll know, is complete, was posted on our website on April 30th. It's not actually due till July, but we get them out early because we have to get them out earlier because our system and Penachuk system are tied as far as meeting each other's CCRs, so they have
Right.
all the data on both CCRs. So the first couple were mailed on May 10th, and the bills that are dated May 11th also have the notation on there about CCR being available. The odd even watering signs are out. Tomorrow, we're doing the lead and copper sampling as required by EPA. So we need to take 60 samples, we're dropping them off tomorrow. Bless you.
Thank you.
And then picking up on Thursday. And then the last thing is that DES and Weston and Sampson had the kickoff meeting for the climate change vulnerability assessment on May 8th. They did it at wastewater. The whole first part of the day was about going over the water, MVD water and wastewater systems. And then the second half of the day, they actually went to the wastewater treatment plant, did a tour of that. The following day, they came to MVD and they did a tour for us as well. And that's it.
So it's funny, on a consumer confidence report, it did show Penachuk's numbers in there, and if I'm not mistaken, it said all of the PFOA levels in Penachuk's system was non-detect, which I didn't think was the case.
If it's what's going in the distribution system, that's what they're putting on there for results.
Yeah. Because I know when we've sampled over there, we've always had some detectable numbers unless they've changed their treatment.
So I think we're getting it from the Merrimack. Huh?
They are.
Yeah, because they got away from their ponds, right? Because of the surface
Yeah.
water had the high
Pennachuck
levels.
Brook has, yeah, because of Witch's Brook connects to it.
I feel like we haven't tested Penachuk in a long time.
We haven't,
since
'cause we haven't
did
ran
use
it.
last Summer,
Yeah,
so it's been,
It's not even on.
but all right, I was shocked when I saw that, but maybe that's good news that I wasn't aware of, so that's good. All right, anything else? What else we have? Comments from, questions from the press and public. I don't know if there's anybody. See anybody on the Zoom line? Like,
Zero attendees, good.
all right. So on that note, the next meeting is June 17th. And I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Wow, that was like
3 at a time.
motion and second and thirded by everyone. I'll give it to John. Motion made by John, second by Ken. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Well, I think I was a little behind.
Thanks. See you next month, Merrimack.